on live. Let's make sure that I got everything. Cool. Everything's in frame. Just gonna sit with your own. Give everybody a chance to wander in. Why did I set that? Crap. That's what we're looking at. Hey, good morning, Rob. How you doing? Um, since it's just at the moment, I thought I'd show you this book. You should get a copy of this. Mm. This is Essential Thorn number 7, and this is by John Buscema, and it's got inks mostly by Tony De Zuniga. That's a very rough sort of painterly style that I thought you might dig. And it's John Buscema Thor. You can't shake a stick at that stuff. Anyway, that's the end of my book pitch there. Hey, Duck Bacon, what's going on? All right. We got 3 viewers now. I think everybody's here for the most part that is going to be here for the most part. We might get some other people filtering in. But I'll go ahead and start. I'll give you a peek at the sketch that I did. Anyway, thanks, Duck Bacon. I got a couple others around here, but I've put them aside someplace and misplaced them. So that's all right. We're gonna look at Richard Bennett, so that's way better anyway. I think I'll just take these out one at a time. Uh, Everybody, let me know if I think it was this envelope that I was on. Pretty sure it was. There's quite a few to go through. You check out some of the details he's got going on. I really love the way he did the control panels. Whenever he had anything technical like that to do, he would just absolutely slay it. And of course, textures. The stuff on the tires. Great Klaus Janson. And he was the only guy in the studio too that would use zipatones and stuff. And for whatever reason, they would let him. I was told. Well, I'm not going to name the person, but I was told by an editor that actually, because Richard had used zipatone, it was kind of a pain in the ass for the people in the coloring department because it would cause moire patterns when you would scan and other kinds of troubles that they would wring their hands at. And I was like, you know what? I don't even want to hear it. You guys doing stuff like this. So just let him do what he does. You know, I mean, he's even gone in there and actually dot by dot stippled that stuff. There's, there's no Clip Studio paint back then. You can't cheat. You're gonna actually have to sit there and do it the hard way. You might get away with doing some white ink and then doing some dots that way, but I don't think that's what he did. I think he just went in and did it the hard way. Um, all this zipatone that's laid in there, like trying to see. I'm wondering if he cut that out or if he did white over the top of it. I have to would think that you would have to cut it out. I don't remember there being a great deal of white on this page or on any of his pages for that matter. He just didn't, unless it was like an intentional dry brush effect. He kept his pages really clean. Chuck Lee, how you doing? Good to see you this morning. We're looking over some Richard Bennett stuff. Um, this is Richard Bennett right here. This is from his stuff from Brass, which I think was published in '96. I want to say maybe it was '97. I'm not sure. It's a long time ago, but I still have these old photocopies from when I worked in the studio. And what's up, Duck Bacon? Didn't I say hello already? I thought I did. Oh, you're talking to the other Chuck. Oh, see. All right. Sorry. I'm used to being the only Chuck in the room. Look at that stuff in there, man. There's some crazy pen work going on there. And these grads that he would do, the way he would do these lenses. Really nice stuff. In particular, like textures like that, I was looking at a lot of, trying to figure that out. Yeah, yeah, the lenses are crazy good. There's no part of Richard's pages that isn't absolutely maxed out. You know, there is no chill, laid back pages by Richard. He's gonna go crazy. At least back then. He's got to move a little faster doing storyboard stuff. He can't sit down and noodle like this. The stuff that he's doing now, but and even if he did, they wouldn't. They don't care. Like if it shows the shot, that's all they want. They don't need any extraneous detail beyond what it takes to give the idea of the mood. At least from what I know of storyboarding, what little that is. But I did spend a little bit of time working with uh, Rick Hoberg and Stefano Gaudiano on the Mummy animated series storyboard stuff. Some great smoke and explosions. This is still stuff from Brass, Duck Bacon. This is from Brass number 2. Oh, you're talking about the arm anatomy on that page there? Yeah, he knows his stuff. He's not playing around. You know, this is pre-internet. or at least before the internet was really widespread enough to where it wasn't as simple as a Google image search back then for helicopters. You had to have books with pictures of helicopters in it. Some of these angles, I think he's just pulling it out of his hat and figuring it out with perspective and doing it the hard way. So, but I don't know. I haven't talked to Richard about it. Oh, this is a really nice page. Very very much reminiscent of H.R. Giger and Alien kind of stuff there, tucked away in the pod, and crazy wires and stuff he's got going on. And again, this is before digital was so refined that you could really do a lot with it. So you didn't have to do all those zipatones by hand and cut out all the white spots that you want or put white over the top of it. Same with little radar screens like this. You got to do that the hard way. There's no other way. Not when he's doing it. See, this is stuff that would drive me nuts. Having to sit and template all those ellipses. Cool stuff. Can I draw a dragon? I'm sure I could. I'm sure the way I would want to draw a dragon, I wouldn't want to. Because I am one of those guys that would have to draw every single scale on it. And I really don't want to. I don't know. I suppose I could cheat and do it digitally. They've got brushes that'll do scales for you. I don't know. Let's see. Let me hold this to where it's not off the side here. Crazy grads going on in that face, right? All the guns are very well done. All the animals are awesome. Look at the detail on that aircraft carrier. I don't know where he was getting this stuff. Because the thing of it is, I think he had to do it in more than one shot. So you having to show from different angles and all this other stuff. And this stuff, the reflection in this doorknob, I don't know how the hell. I can't even begin to tell you. Here, let me turn it up so it's right side for you guys. I can't begin to tell you how you would even take a guess at how to do that. Same thing with this. Like, that's not the camera doing that. That's an intentional blurry effect that he's got going on there. He has two or three lines in this spot. That is not my camera doing that. But it sure looks like it is. No idea how he's doing that. Mm, putting in more time. I don't think he's hand stippling that. I think that's splatter a little bit combined with white. Lots of tipitone on this stuff. Oh, here, let me get out the other half of this. This is wraparound cover. They did this for that giant size edition. This might even be one of the regular edition covers. That's enormous. I can't even get it all in frame. And the level of detail, you know, really tiny details on that helmet that are so lovingly rendered. And then you look at it and it's just one very small part of this enormous space. And every part of the space is pretty much rendered with that degree of care. And the stuff in the gun and the lenses and all these technical parts. Texture on that gun, making it look like a like roughed up fiberglass. Yeah, crazy good stuff on the boot here. Just crazy amounts of detail. And just because we shouldn't skip it, normally you go, oh, okay, it's just the gun, no big deal, you know, not that much to look at with it. But in this case, this guy's really putting in the textures. Yeah, absolutely, the textures are off the hook. So yeah, when people are like, "Why did you spend so much time trying to figure out texture?" I'm like, I'm going in the office and I'm seeing stuff like this, and I gotta compete. So yeah, I was ripping off Richard wherever I could. He had mad jobs. I wonder if it would help if I turned on the light here. Hang on. Yeah, here we go. Let's see if we get better shots that way. Yeah, that helps a little bit. Get a nice, clear, bright view. Sometimes when you're looking at books and stuff, that light kicks up so much gloss that you can't do it. But since these are photocopies, it's just a matte surface. He's actually cutting underneath each and every one of those lines with his white to get that. That's just crazy. Just that little patch on his arm with all that cross hatching stuff going on. Just crazy amounts of stuff. Nowhere can you look at it and go, okay, he's phoning it in. Yeah, Richard's one of those guys. Every texture that he does, just dynamite. There's stuff over in the water, the reflections going on and everything. There's texture going on in the cement wall. All right, we're gonna keep going here. More two-page spreads. Huh. Are they together? They are. All right. All right. Let's see if I can give you guys a look at the at the glory panel altogether. It's crazy. Oh yeah, yeah. It was very popular. Richard's stuff would come in, and especially amongst the inkers, there would be a rumble. Like, have you seen what he did this time? So yeah, I heard someone again. I won't mention the name, but like one of the inkers that I was talking to was like, yeah, but to a certain degree, when you start putting in this much detail, because like just the stuff right there, crazy amounts of love and detail, just there in that one spot. Well, by the time you back this thing out and then you shoot it down to a comic book size, you know, you're gonna lose so much of it. A lot of it's gonna drop out. A lot of it's gonna close up. You're gonna have problems with reproduction. A lot of this love, the time that you put in here, uh, it's as this other artist told me, like you reach that degree, and it's sort of like masturbation. The only one that's really appreciating it at that point is you. Always just remember that. And I sort of can see that point of view, uh, but you know that detail is there, even if it doesn't print. Uh, and Richard doesn't sell his stuff, so he still has all these pages. And when you have Rob, you know this, uh, like going through pages that you've done and everything. When you look through a page that you've done in the past, it reminds you what was going on in your life at that time, what you were doing, if you were hanging out with anybody in particular, where you were working, maybe even what season it was. You know, it's like looking through snapshots, kind of. You know, this is more stuff from that Savage Dragon issue. More of this body hair stuff that he had going on that I wanted to figure out, and just random textures in general. It's crazy. You have this little door jam right here, and how crazy small that is by the time you shoot it down. The love in some of this stuff is just amazing. Stuff like that. Oh, I love this one. That's a great panel right there. All that off the hook tech stuff in the background here. Again, no clip studio paint. Richard's doing that the hard way. Yeah, I have seen where he's done stuff before where he's like put it on a copy machine and made a photocopy of something and then done it really dark and then you paste it to the board for like a monitor or something like this. Like making your own decals back then. Uh, I think he pretty much probably drew that one by hand, but some of this stuff would get pretty elaborate. I love the texture on this dude's jacket. And again, as far as I know, there's no way to really fake that. You got to cross hatch it over and over and over and over and over again because you can't just brush in there and go back in with white for that. That's not going to work. Not even look like that. Just the amount of time involved in this is just crazy. Crazy little textures like this little bit right there. Oh, come on, get into focus. There we go. I think most of it was 102. I think most of it was 102. There's clearly some parts in here that are brush. Um, there's going to be quite a few technical pens, probably of the rapidograph variety back then, because you didn't have we had you had microns back then, but you didn't have the variety of sizes that you were going to have with refillable cartridge style rapidographs. So I would imagine he had a lot of experience with those. But yeah, as far as I know, most of this is probably 102. I do see some spots where it's brush. Um, he probably had some form of like pearl white, but it's liquid. They do make some of that stuff. I forget what the brand is, but and then you would have to kind of finesse it a little bit to get it just the right amount of liquidity to it to because the more you water it down, the less opaque it gets, and it could really be a challenge to work with. But yeah, Richard was pretty much master of all of his mediums, and that's like this is before the guy went to college and got his degree in illustration. Now he was assisting with Eduardo Barreto from like the age of 15 or something. I think I read. I don't know. Don't quote me on these facts and figures. I'm not an expert in all things, Richard. I've just read a couple of things. Oh, oh no, that's it. That's all I have in that folder. I thought I had more pages than that. Okay, well, I guess for the rest of the time. Oh yeah, I can show you guys that. Oh goodness. Yeah, you don't want to go away. I got something cool here. Um, it's a book that came out. I want to say like right around 92, 91, something like that. And it was called Silver Surfer Dangerous Artifacts. And it was put out by Marvel, and it was done by an artist by the name of Claudio Castellini, who draws a lot like John Buscema. But recently, I got this French version of it, and it's larger and it's black and white. Yeah, it's not quite an artist edition, but it does give you a better look at this stuff in depth. And this stuff is just amazing. I can get you in there real close to look at that. Hey, Isaac. How's it going? Yeah, I ordered this from Amazon in France. I don't know, a couple of months ago. But this originally came out from Marvel, like I said, like in the early '90s, and they tried to do real early computer coloring over it, and everybody thought it was reproduced from the pencil. This stuff is, from my understanding, it's all airbrush and washes, an occasional zipatone. Um, but yeah, just amazing stuff. Look at the tech detail and stuff going on. I know I got art geeks out in the crowd. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I had to order this from Amazon France. There's an interview in the back with Castellini, and I'm like, geez, if only I read French, but I don't. You know? Now, yeah, like I said, I did have to get this from Amazon in France. I think it was about $50 by the time it was all said and done. Yeah, the glow effects these got going on. That's airbrush. You know, that's like right out of stuff that you would get from the old Epic Illustrated or something. Um, but yeah, just the level of detail on this stuff is amazing, and the reproduction's really nice. And I'm like, it would be kind of nice to read the story, but even when I had it in a form I could read before, I never read it. I'm too busy looking at the artwork. You know, get in there and look at the way he's done her hair. Crazy amounts of detail on this pipe back here. And the background pattern back here. That's just insane. I'm looking like a must have. You'll be lucky to find this. This is called. Okay, well, I'm just going to show you the title because I do not speak French. That's what they call it over there, Amazon France. Yeah, I can send you a link if you want, Rob. I don't know if they've still got copies of it or not. If I can still get the link, I'll remember after the live stream. I'll put the link in the description because I know I'm going to have other people asking too, like, where can I get that book? Um, to be honest, I don't know if you can still. I got this, I want to say a couple months ago, and I had to wait like a month for it to come here from France. But I see, I turn this aside so you guys can see the insane amounts of detail going on. Just so lovingly rendered. The stuff in the metal there is Zipatone, if I'm not mistaken. It's just a really fine screen. Yeah, I don't speak any French either, man. Like I said, this was called Silver Surfer Dangerous Artifacts here in the United States. I'll like cue in on some of this amazing detail back there. Sorry, I'm bumping the camera a little bit. Bumping into the tripod because the book's so big I can't get it on. Yeah, it is an epic book. I was so glad to get this when it got here. Uh, my friend Jason Hall turned me on to this coming out, and immediately when I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to get that. Look at look at that face of Thanos right there. That is just insane. Now, this guy did very limited work with Marvel and DC. He did the like when they did the 4 issue miniseries of Marvel versus DC when they were doing the amalgam crossover back in the early '90s. He did like Dan Jurgens did half of it, and then the other half of it was Claudio Castellini and Paul Neary on inking. Now, there's also a Conan miniseries out there with this guy's artwork, like a 3 issue thing. And then there's this, and then he just did a Superman book with Marv Wolfman a couple years ago. But he sort of dips in and out of the industry because you know, obviously, when you're doing stuff with this level of love to it, it's not going to come quickly. That ship, and when he's doing that ship too, he has it figured out from more than one angle because you got to keep it consistent. Let's so she can get a good look at it. So that means your perspective's got to be on point, man. All that love there in the on the Star Cruiser here or whatever it is. All this tech stuff, airbrushed with care. Yeah, very much a Star Wars feel to the spacecraft. Well, I mean, if you're gonna do spacecrafts right, what else are you gonna do? Make it look like that if you can. Insane amounts of details. So yeah, there isn't an artist edition of this, but this is pretty close. And actually, I prefer this size. Because you crank out an artist edition, you better have some room on the table, man. Wow. Yeah, I need to pull this book out more often. You look at the scroll face down there. Even he's getting this sort of Richard Bennett level of cross hatching and stuff going on in places. Insane amounts of detail. I like that they've printed it in color enough to where you can see that the spots where he's gone in with the opaque white, they're a little bluish from the paper. Stuff like this shot, you can see it's been used really heavily. I mean, you're almost doing a watercolor painting at that point. Crazy amounts of details on this dude. and an upshot. Now, everybody that's in here that draws knows what a bitch that angle is. Everybody, come on now. You know what I'm talking about. Try and draw a face from that angle. We'll all wait. All 11 this tech. Let's see. Yeah. Now this has the same level of detail, but you really get the full effect more from looking at it back out here. I mean, we can get in real close and you can see some of that stuff. But yeah, even on the pages that readers typically flip right past, this is all real, real gorgeous shit. Look at the closing on the check on this one little part. Crazy. The crazy contortion going on with that figure, but it doesn't look, it doesn't like, oh, you can't really do that. No, I believe that you could do that if you're in surfing shape and up on a wave. I bet you could probably find a reference photo of a surfer doing just that. Now I don't know if you could find it in 1990. That's gonna be a tough sell. All this tech stuff just is insane. So yeah, whenever I run out of ideas, if I run out of ideas for technical control panels or any kind of shit like that, I pull out stuff like this and stuff by Richard Bennett. And you just start pulling little pieces and parts and going, oh, okay, I'll throw this on and I'll throw that on. And like back in the days of Wildstorm, Shiro Mazmune, the guy that did the manga for Ghost in the Shell, was very, very popular because he would draw very sexy women with the standard manga cartoony sorts of faces, but their figures would just be absolutely insane. I think J. Scott Campbell took a lot of influence off of Shiro Mazmine's women as well. But everybody would look at his tech because his tech stuff was just excellent. That great John Buscema-esque face going on there. I mean, this looks so much like Buscema. It's just insane. But it has that image comic sensibility going on to it. You know, he knew what was maybe this did come out later than maybe it wasn't 91. Maybe it was something more like 94, 95. I don't know. I don't remember, but yeah, I see lots of places where it looks like lots of places where it looks like Neil Adams, and lots of places where it looks like John Buscema, and lots of John Buscema influence. Basically, like a love letter to the original Silver Surfer series. Well, yeah, that's why I pulled it out, Rob. I'm like, oh, I bet you he hasn't seen this. I bet you he doesn't know about this book. Because honestly, when it came out, I am thinking maybe it was 96, 90, maybe 95, 96 now, something like that. I don't know. You can look it up. Dangerous Artifacts, Silver Surfer Dangerous Artifacts. And it's written by Ron Mars. But yeah, it just kind of came and went. It wasn't it wasn't nearly so impressive because, like I said, they were still fairly early on in the stages of computer coloring. And even now, if you try to color this, it's going to look muddy as hell, man. Come on, by the time you shrink that down to comic size, if you put any color on there, it's just going to close up and look like mud. All right. And I'm not even getting started with, with you know, the, uh, the washes and the gray tones and things like that. The cover, yeah, I think it was a mistake to include color. I think it should have always had this sort of treatment to it. But Marvel wasn't going to do that in 1991. I mean, or in 95 or whenever it was that came out. I wish I could remember offhand. I need y'all look at that Thanos without bumping into the tripod too much. And the anatomy, the twist that's going on there in the abdomen and stuff like that. Like none of this is easy. Trying to get a figure to look natural like that and to get it to twist in the middle and to get the abdomen. Again, everybody that draws in this room knows that's a pain in the ass. Like if you can nail that, it looks great. But the question is, can you nail it? You know, lost track of where we were at. Oh, let's look at that. More great stuff with the spaceships. I'd be interested to know how long it took to produce. You guarantee everybody you know would buy it without color. Well, I probably would have too. I was a big fan of Savage sort of Conan and the black and white magazines, just for this sort of a reason. It would sort of bridge that gap between comic book art and paintings, when it would get to this level of tone and detail and stuff going on with the gray tones. And I kind of dug that. Look at that shot of the surfer laying there like that. The foreshortening going on there. None of this. Like another upshot of the face and the hands coming right out towards you. Again, there's nothing easy. There are no shots where you're like, oh, he's just taking it easy here. Oh, wait, I think this is where I was. Well, yeah, we looked at her. I know we did. And we were looking at him. This is where I was. All right, I skipped ahead a little bit. Don't want to miss out on any of this stuff. Crazy. Even the little dinky surfer figure and the girl figure down at the bottom. Really nice. Small panels like this that, again, really aren't impressive at comic size. Look at all the detail that's in that, man. That's crazy. I can't tell if he's hatched that or if it's wash or if it's hatched in wash or how the hell he's doing that. But it seems to me really pulled out all the stops as far as doing black and white artwork goes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we looked at this before because I remember looking at that texture and we looked at those pages. Ah, yeah. There we go. More of that Silver Surfer goodness. Some of these you can kind of see where it would need some color because it gets so busy that you have difficulty getting it to separate in black and white. But all in all, I think color is just going to hurt it. I love this smoke. Kind of a smoke, half Kirby crackle sort of thing going on there. That's just gorgeous. Move up ahead because we're going to take too long. So yeah, like I said, the color version is Silver Surfer Dangerous Artifacts. So for the people that just want to look at this just to have a copy of it, that's where you go find the color version. Which I know that's probably not what you're wanting to look at. Look at the stuff on this moon. But this one's kind of pricey, and like I said, I had to wait like a month on it to get here. Not everybody's that patient. Oh, look at that Starfield, those sweet airbrush going on there. Badass shot of Thanos. Again, he's real good at that at foreshortening, having that stuff coming right at you. Okay, yeah, I guess that's the last page of the actual story, and then we're into, like I said, a really extensive interview the Claudio Castellini. I would just love it if I could only read French, but I don't. So maybe this is some kind of test page. I don't know. It says something about John Ramirez Sr. Like maybe you submitted it to John Ramirez Sr. I'm not sure. It's, from what I read in the Superman book that he did with Marv Wolfman that I was talking about earlier, I guess this guy goes through and develops all his stuff out on tracing paper like this before he uh, before he even goes to the board. Yeah, that's right. These are his roughs. Roughs. Not much rough about any of these. Great pencils. Just crazy. So yeah, when my friend told me this existed, he sent me a couple of shots from his camera, and I remembered the book, and I remembered that I was dissatisfied with how it reproduced and the limited look we were getting at it. He told me that this was in existence, and I'm like, jumped on it immediately. I haven't regretted it for a moment. Wow, crazy pencils to this wild two-page spread. A lot of love, even in the pencil stage, man. Especially for inking yourself. More pencil pages. And I guess this was an Italian preview, if my guess for French is right. Ooh, wow. Yeah, this is from Cosmic Powers Unlimited #1, I guess. One of the other limited stuff you'll see from this guy. But they went ahead and printed that in here because they know everybody's going to want to see it. Wow. Beautiful. Just beautifully inked. And then again, for my limited, very limited French, it's just like a gallery. So yeah, I've had this thing sitting over my shelf for a little bit, and I was like, in case I run out of stuff today, I'm gonna break this thing out and give everybody a look at it. We'll find something to do. It's Sunday morning 5, damn it, and people have shown up to see some cool stuff. Fortunately, I got cool stuff. I didn't even have to reach for the artist editions over there. The backgrounds back there with the Watcher, crazy. Sorry, I'm tapping the tripod a little bit. Get a look at that moon. Right? Isn't it awesome? I was so glad when I found out that this existed. I got to tell you that if all you can get is the color one, then yeah, you should get it. But what you really want is one of these if you can find it. Um, yeah, his Galactus is just insane. I don't really care for the well-defined lips, but I think it's sort of a nod to the way Mobius drew Galactus. It's like he's taken all of his favorite parts of his favorite artists and has stuck them in a blender to get his style. Because I look at that figure and I see John Buscema, I see Neil Adams, and I see Bern Hogarth. Just in that one figure. The fire and explosions and stuff going on around this. That is so cool. And then here's what the cover to the comic edition looks right like. Silver Surfer 26. Wait. I guess this is something else from 2016. Maybe a poster. But I know it didn't come out in 2016 because I just remember. Um, nice end papers. You can get a better look at that one shot that he had going on. You can see, like zipatone that he's laying down and wash as we get in here, and then back to zipatone on the technical stuff. It looks like, but yeah, just to cut all those zips, because again, this is one of those things that's done before digital was a big thing. Like, yeah, you could do it digitally, but Did you know anybody that know how to use digital well enough to do that? Because most people that knew the software well enough to do stuff like that couldn't draw this well back then. Yeah, I do see some. It's Bart Sears stuff going on. It's just great anatomy is what you're seeing there. I think I don't really see so much Bart, but I can see how you would see that. Bart tends to make his stuff even more muscled up than this guy does, but it is very distinct, like Bart stuff is. I keep going back to that. Just tremendous. Yeah, it's pretty good, all right. That guy's pretty good. Just a little bit. There's smoke and stuff coming off the Silver Surfer. It's got that very sort of P. Craig Russell kind of vibe to it. Wow. Yeah, I could spend all day looking through this damn book, but but you guys are probably like, come on, we saw it already. Move on. Show us something else. Show us something else. Now, I was watching Rob's video earlier this morning before I started the stream, and he was talking about how like I was telling him that I experience work differently depending upon whether it's in black and white or in color. Like I just bought that Doctor Strange omnibus recently with the Steve Ditko stuff in it, and it's another one of those books that I don't really care for because I've seen it this way in the essentials format. And like Rob was asking me, what is it about Steve Ditko do you like? And I like he didn't seem to really care for much of what he'd seen. Like he said he saw some Squirrel Girl, and that is long past the period. Let me see if I can find an instance of what I'm talking about. Now there's just peaks and valleys of it, but like when you look at something like this, and then you think about the way he's influenced Frank Miller. Like if you think of this as like a kind of prototype Sin City stuff, you could see that real high contrast, black and white, very moody sort of stuff going on. There's not a terrific amount of rendering to it, although the rendering and stuff that is there with it is well done. But this is one of those times where I find that I actually like the work much better in black and white than I do with the colors. Yeah, yeah. When you go back and you look at the old Ditko stuff, uh, now this guy was a big influence on John Byrne and on Frank Miller. Um, if you look at the way where he places figures in a panel, his blocking, um, you can see where John Byrne took some influence with the way he blocks his shots. Now you don't get this effect when you look at it in color. Sorry, I got my fan on. Too damn hot, man. Stuff like that. Both the shot of the dude around the corner and of Doctor Strange, just an incredibly cool, moody sort of shot. I guess what you could say is that uh, Kirby was good at drawing stuff that was very big and over the top and making that look cool and finding a way to make the most unbelievable stuff look cool. Whereas I think Ditko's skill was more in making stuff look believable, making stuff look realistic and down to earth. Um, Lots of cool heavy blacks in this stuff. Look at that. Oh, I love that shot. Come on now. You don't see any Frank Miller in that? Look at that rendering going on his cheek and stuff. That is straight out of Daredevil, baby. All we need is Klaus Janson to come in there and ink that. And that's going to look like something out of that Miller Jansen run. So, yeah. And this is probably towards the end of, well, not really towards the end, but um, towards the later part of Steve Ditko's career where I really like his stuff. Uh, by the time he got to Spider Man and to Marvel, I want to say he'd already been working in the industry nearly 10 years. And he did lots and lots and lots of pages for Charlton all through the mid to late 50s. You see here the more influence that he's had on Frank Miller because he likes to do this 9 panel grid, just like Frank Miller did with Sin City, doing grids of 9 panels, 12 panels, sometimes 16 panels, just depending, but locked in these equal panel sized grids. Smoke and stuff like that looks just like what Miller's doing in Sin City, even small shots. I'm learning so much by studying Steve Ditko's stuff. And I know some people, like I didn't like Ditko for such a long time because again, I'm like seeing it. I'm seeing the stuff that Rob's looking at, and Jesus isn't very good because from about oh I don't know Machine Man on, so from 78, 79 until his death, I really didn't like. You know, there's a point where an artist is learning his craft and he's coming up, and then there's a point where he peaks, and then there's a point where he begins to relax what he does, and eventually where the beginnings, where the drawings start to look sort of funky. I'm not going to name any names, but you'll notice when an artist get up. Well, in fact, I will name a name. Neil Adams' stuff started to get kind of weird once he got past 75 or so. You know, there are places where it began to fall off a little bit. No disrespect intended. You know, the man's just leaving out the details that weren't so essential. But if you're used to his stuff up until that point, that's usually stuff that he would throw in. Very Frank Miller, Sin City kind of shot there. I mean, if I showed you just that panel and told you that it was drawn by Frank Miller, I might fool you for a minute or two. This is another book I would recommend, Rob. If you want to look at some good Steve Ditko, this is cheap. Essential Doctor Strange #1. You probably find this thing for 15, 20 bucks. And I'll tell you, it's deceptively simple, but I have learned just a ton studying this stuff. Really strong compositions, very strong in black and white. for somebody that works in black and white, you know what I'm talking about. It has to work that way. It has to work bare bones, nothing. And that's why I like looking at this way. I mean, I've got that omnibus, but and it's okay. I don't hate it or anything, but I don't like it as well as this essential. And then like I was saying in my comment on Rob's video this morning, like you experience art differently. Like if this were glossy paper rather than the matte finish paper, that's going to look different. You put color on it, flat color, that's going to look different. You get out the computer and start doing grads and things like this, that's going to look different. Yeah, unfortunately, we only get a little bit of Steve Ditko. I mean, about half the book or so, I would say. That's where the Ditko stuff ends. Other books to seek out: Essential Spider Man 1, and especially Essential Spider Man 2. Great drawn legs and everything else. Because this is where Ditko, like, okay, you look at some of the faces, and some of the faces are kind of cartoony, but you got to remember he's trying to go really over the top with the expressions, for one thing. And for another thing, too, as you study Ditko's work, one of the things that you notice is that more grids um, is that drawing things pretty isn't of a particular concern to him. He's trying to get that emotional impact across. See, you can see, like, that John Byrne, Terry Austin stuff. Look at the shape of the eyes he's doing there, and you can see the influence that he's had on Byrne. Of course, Burns adapted it, or as Byrne himself would probably say, he failed at copying it. Um, yeah, rock solid storytelling, great compositions. So yeah, when you look at the Frank Miller of Daredevil, and then you look at this, come on, man. Like I said, all we need is Klaus Janson to come in here and touch that up. That'll look like that's right out of Daredevil. These shots of these guys sitting around. That's just great. I love old Ditko stuff. And I didn't like it for a long time because I just didn't. This early stuff was fine, but everybody praised Ditko's like current work, and like I said, I don't care for it past about, I don't know, 79 or 80, something like that. His style is strayed too far from. But yeah, I definitely recommend Essential Spider-Man 1 and 2. You want to look at some really strong Steve Ditko stuff? I would get those. Um, Stuff that I've really been digging that is much more expensive and harder to come by are reprints of his Charlton work. Um, Everybody thinks that Frank Miller was the first one to come up with inventive skylines and things like water towers. Well, I'm here to tell you that long, long, long before Frank Miller was pulling water towers. Yeah, see? Mm. Billboard signs. Because back then, all you used to get is like the Kirby style buildings, like from the Fantastic Four, which are fine, but they don't look like real buildings. But yeah, in short, with Ditko, the early stuff I think is better. I like it better. So yeah, Essential Spider-Man 1 and 2 and Essential Doctor Strange Volume 1. If you can get your hands on those, you will have some primo Steve Ditko. Okay, well, I have rambled on for nearly an hour and a half, and everybody in the house has tried to stay quiet because they know they didn't go to church this morning. They know I'm doing my thing, So anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I sure appreciate everybody coming out to take a look. Uh, I've been doing this. I don't know. I think I got 4 or 5 of these in a row, but it seems like Sunday mornings pretty good time for everybody to come take a look. And I've gotten a surprising number of watches on the replays too. So anyway, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to show you guys. I had a drawing. What I do with it? Yeah, can't find it now. Anyway, I just got like basic doodles, sketches, lots of stuff. Lots of stuff in red pencil. And to answer your question before you ask it, this was as loose as this when I started inking. As loose as any of these are. But when I'm just, you know, goofing off for me, why not? So, anyway, just wrapping up here. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate having you. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Bye, everybody.